I'd like to welcome Dawn Mahan to the channel. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Mike. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you, Dawn. Dawn is an experienced project and program manager who founded PMOtraining.com, which she now runs. Like me, Dawn is a project management educator, but her edge is in incredible facilitated simulation events, which she runs for her clients and as open programs, I believe, as well.
That's right.
Her events use gamification, and using that, she's managed to make the 750 plus pages of the 6th edition of the PMBOK guide into a highly accessible, digestible set of information that people can make use of. So she's thought really deeply about the PMI's qualification and qualifications in general for project managers. And that's why I wanted to speak to Dawn, because there is a huge question for project managers about whether to seek certification and what certification is right for them. So this conversation is going to address all those questions and get Dawn's point of view, and I'll also be sharing mine as well. So welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. I'm excited about this. We just did a webinar for the Spanish, our Spanish folks, and the #1 question polled was, what certification is right for me? But yeah, that's the big question right now, is what certification is right for me? And we're seeing more people than ever getting their certifications. You know, I'm getting LinkedIn, notices all the time about people getting certifications. So
yeah, there's been a bit of a rush. We're speaking just in the new year, in start of 2021, and I don't know about you, but I've noticed a big rush over the last couple of months. Anyway, our viewers want us to start with the central question, I think, which is: do project management certifications matter, and why? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I feel like it depends, right? So that's the consulting answer always.
It's the answer to every question, isn't it? Yeah.
It does depend, because, for some people, they say, you know what, I just want to be a better project manager. And so we built a class, for instance, about practical project management, and we do a certificate to make sure that people feel that they've earned it and they really get it, and it drives people to really pay attention, when you have to pass an exam at the end. But if they really want to, if they just want to get better at being a project manager, I don't believe, and I hope I don't get dinged by PMI from this, I don't believe that PMP is going to make you a better project manager, for example. So if your goal is, when people ask me, Dawn, should I get my PMP? I ask them, why do you think the PMP would be good for you, for example, right? And if they say, I just spoke with somebody yesterday and she said, listen, I've been in the construction industry for 8 years. I'm seeing a lot of jobs that require the PMP to even apply. This is my profession. When I ask people, do you want to walk into a networking situation and shake somebody's hand, over Zoom now, but and shake somebody's hand and say, I am a professional project manager. If you do, for the next 3 to 5 years, right? Yeah. If you do, then yeah, I say then it's a great thing to do for you. But if really, and a lot of people are coming to me and saying, I just want to be a better project manager. The truth is most projects fail. So people are looking for help to make sure that they're not the ones leading a project that fails. But the PMP is not going to necessarily help you with that.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, and certainly the qualification isn't. I think for me, I very much agree with you. And in fact, the honest truth is I have no project management qualification. I was offered the chance. I worked for Deloitte. I was offered the chance to study for PMP and take it all on the firm's dollar when it was the first edition of the PMBOK guide, and it was 160 pages. And it could have, but I was busy and stuff. But I think what actually is of value, is if you are someone who has learned your project management and you've learned it well, but maybe there are a couple of bits you've missed because you haven't engaged with them in your experience, then sometimes a formal structured learning process can introduce you to things you didn't know. That could make you a better project manager, I think. But only on the margins is not going to turn you from someone who can't manage a project into someone who can. No amount of book reading is going to do that.
Right, I agree. And so what you're saying is, it can help you get to the next level, right? In your knowledge first. But what we teach is also that project management is the best way to learn it is just like any other trade, like plumbing or electricians, or, it's really, you learn on the job. Yes, there's classroom training you can do, and that's excellent. And obviously you and I believe in it, right? But where you really learn project management is on the job. Yes. So I agree with you. If you've been doing it a while and you feel like this is my profession, and I want to get better at my profession, and I want the world to know that I am real, that I am into this, that this is my profession, then you're going to get your PMP at some point. It's just you should do that, right? But you just have to know also what you're getting into, because the journey is hard.
Yeah. And I think that I always draw the kind of analogy in project management with the kind of old system of, apprentices and journeyman and master. We progress, and apprentices weren't given a pile of books for 3 years to read. They were given increasingly more difficult tasks until they've reached a point where they have proved that any task they were given, they could do competently, any task they were given. And that's the point where they were allowed to go off and do stuff on their own. And I think that's the same for us as project managers. And all that the PMP does is provides one more snippet of information about you, and arguably not a piece of information that tells someone that you can do the job. Correct.
Yeah, and that's the thing we look for when we hire project managers who have their PMPs. Is I'm always, unfortunately, skeptical. Are you a paper PMP or are you a real PMP?
Yeah, and there's a real worry that there are some people out there who haven't even got the experience qualification they need. They just rely on the sampling, not picking them up. And they study, they cram the exams, and they don't really understand it. They just learn how to answer the questions. So yeah, I fear there are people out there like that. Hopefully, nobody watching this today.
Right, absolutely, none of your people. Yeah.
So, if the PMP isn't, and certifications in general are not absolutely essential, who does need them? What person would they be right for?
Yeah, I think, the person who says, I'm just like the lady yesterday that I spoke with, she says, hey, listen, I did some soul searching and this is my profession. And in fact, for her, which was really interesting, she is in the construction industry, right? And the new PMP is requiring agile and hybrid learning.
Yeah.
And the good news for her, she may be a subset of people, but the good news for her is she said, I would like the opportunity to switch out of construction. So for her, I said, oh, well, it's great you waited, for the new exam, because you will now demonstrate when you get your PMP that agile and hybrid, because it'll say, that you studied under, the new structure. So that's great for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anybody that, wants to switch out of a industry, for instance, what's amazing about project management, and I love your thoughts on this, to me, is that, listen, I get bored easily, right? And so, there is you cannot get bored if you're in project management. And you can, as you grow in your career, you just get bigger, hairier, scarier projects, which means you're not going to get bored, right? And you can more easily switch different industries when you are, I'm going to say a master PM, like for real.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree, because a question I often get asked in training is, do you have to be an expert in the thing you're delivering a project? So if you're delivering a telecoms project, do you have to know telecoms? If you're delivering construction, do you need to know construction? And I always say, well, there is some stuff you probably do need to know in some domains, but in many domains, actually, you can go in, your expertise is project management. I actually did deliver a telecoms project in the very early days of internet, telecommunications in 2000, and I knew nothing. I'd never worked in the telecom sector. I knew, all the telecoms that anyone who used a computer and a phone knew. But what I did know was how to gather together my experts, figure out who knew what, and then take them all to dinner, one at a time, to empty their brain. Not so that I could become the expert that they were, but so that when I encountered a problem, I would immediately know who to go to. And that's part of our skill set, is about marshalling our resources. And that meant as a consultant project manager, I was able to work in all sorts of sectors, in defense, in kind of social government sector, in the transport sector, in telecom sector, in the automotive sector, in the utility sector. I did projects in all those sectors. And yet, actually, I'm an expert in none of them. And I think that's absolutely fine. And I think that's one of the things that a PMP does give you, is you're moving from sector A to sector B, and it's just a little badge that says, you know what, I might not know your sector, but I know project management. And if the sector you're moving to is one that respects the PMI and its qualifications, then that gives you a way in. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that it does give. Someone who wants that badge, for whatever reason, has got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that same thing happened to me. And what you also said is, as a consultant. So that's another group of folks that the PMP, or any qualification, whether it be Scrum Master or any certification, might be helpful for, because of you want your consulting companies usually want your clients to see that the resume they're putting in front of them is a qualified person, right? That deserves the rate that they're going to be paying for. And that's why I got my PMP originally in 2004, because under the second edition, when also it was like this thick, and because I was a consultant and I was young and I was in IT and I was like the only woman most of the time, and so it did give me that badge of courage, if you will, where that when I show up and I look so young and I look so female, they would be like, this is 20 years ago, you'd be like, well, yes, okay, she must know what she's doing because she has her PMP. So that helped me, I feel, a lot, with that, like you said, that badge, right?
Are there any other reasons why you think people should be looking at a qualification, PMP or otherwise?
Well, right now, I think is a great time to be looking at it. So I'm excited that we're doing this right now at the beginning of the year, because, there is still a lot of places that are locked down. People have a little bit more time on their hands. I did countless, sessions and webinars last year where people would show up and say, I'm being intentional about my time now. And I'm here because I want a qualification. I want to use this time and come out of COVID stronger, and better able to navigate the marketplace than ever before. Because, hey, the truth is, you and I you're in the UK right now. I'm in Florida right now. We're stuck at home, but the borders have come down. So we are, project managers can compete now on the global marketplace. So the more stamps of approval that you have, maybe the better, as long as you can pass that, interview test of somebody like you or me that knows the difference between, the paper PMP and the.
And the other thing I think is really valuable, which I don't know what because you are a member of the PMP and I'm not, but it seems to me that the PMP is a club. It is a professional membership body, let's say. And here in the UK, we've got the Association for Project Management, there's the IPMA, the AIPM, and probably any combination of those initials. And they are all membership associations. And I think one of the things that a certification does is say, well, you're a member of the club, but now you get to play at an upper level within the club and have got the respect of that. And I think the membership of the club and the respect of your peers is of real value to a lot of people in their careers.
Yes, I agree. The thing with the PMP is that I like to use the hashtag #TheLearningNeverStops. And it's really true with, project management in general, but definitely with the PMP, because once you get it, you must continue, getting those certification credits. So the, 1 hour equals, one PDU or professional development unit. Yeah, you have to earn, just like CPAs, just like accountants, just like lawyers, just, you know, we as professionals in our profession have to, you know, continue that education. And so at these events, and you know, we met because we spoke at an event, right? Where
absolutely.
A lot of people show up because they need these education credits. You know, but it does help with your networking, and networking now is everything. You know, a lot of project managers lost their jobs over COVID because companies had to, you know, cut somewhere. So they cut projects, you know, they continue to run the operations, they go as lean as possible, et cetera. So, so if people want to emerge, you know, stronger, like I mentioned, people are coming to me and saying, I want to emerge stronger, you know, then I think any of these, you know, whatever is right for you in your industry. So think about, you know, your career goal, your industry, your country location, you know, what's more popular, you know, what's going to give you the best chance at being as marketable as possible. So for you, if it's APM, go APM, you know, if it's PRINCE2, go PRINCE2, right? I mean, if whatever will give you the best shot at being as strong as possible on your CV, that's the thing to go for.
I think that's right. And I think actually for the benefit of listeners, I kind of want to emphasize some things you said there, because I think they are spot on in terms of advice, because now is a good time, but if not now, it will always be a good time. I think the CPD thing, I don't know about you, but I feel that is so important. I think that's a really valuable part. And a little advert for my other YouTube channel, if you're watching, management courses for people who want to learn the basic core management skills. But at the end of that, I always sign off with keep learning. Because if you are in any white collar role, if you call yourself a professional, you are per force working in an environment where things change. And project management has changed a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. And if you had stopped learning in 2004, then you wouldn't be fit to train people in the current against the current syllabus. And so I think that is so important. And a lot of people, I guess, are paying it lip service. They're just ticking off. But the project managers who will succeed, and I think you said, you know, if you do well, you'll go from bigger to better to more complex, more hairy, scary projects. If you aspire to do that, you have to be one of those project managers that has been learning about the new ideas, the new thinking. And another hobby horse of mine is, don't just learn about the new thinking in project management, think about the new thinking in management, in social science, in psychology, because all of that is relevant.
Oh, so true. Yeah, so true. I mean, I think the number one skill a project manager needs is leadership.
Yeah.
So, you know,
or communication.
Well, you know, I think we could debate like leadership and communication right there. They go hand in hand. I mean, you can't be a great leader without great communication, but you can be a great communicator without being a great leader. So whatever, tomato, you know, whatever. But leadership, right? I prefer to actually talk about project leadership rather than project management. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, you need to know a lot about yourself. And, you know, we have workshops. So you talked about my simulations and my workshops and stuff. And we do this amazing communication styles workshop where in only an hour and a half, you know, a client group really starts to identify their own communication style, but also learn about every other person's communication style and how to interact together. And it is so powerful to recognize that.
Which are you able to say, or is it a trade secret?
It's a bit of a trade secret, but it's really, you know, there are lots of different models out there. But this is the one we like to do mostly all practical stuff, except for obviously PMP bootcamp, not practical, but practical to pass the exam, obviously. But everything else is like really, you can immediately walk out the room and put it to use on the job. That's our goal. So in this one, it's, you know, it's very interactive and practical, like I said, and we can do it in only an hour and a half. And it has opened, you know, the minds of folks and helped people understand each other better. And so like you your communication being number one for you, maybe, right? Says you better know more about yourself. You better know your communication style. You better be able to recognize how to communicate with others. PMI says communication is 90% of the job. So yes, keep learning. I love that. Yeah, mine is hashtag, the learning never stops. So, and yours is keep learning. So I love it. I love it that we're on the same page.
Anyway, I do want to come back to something you said, because I was going to recap it and I got caught up. But
sorry,
the question that you answered, which is, how should I decide what certification is right for me? If I got you right, you said actually it all depends on a number of things, and it depends is probably the most useful answer you have as a project manager, isn't it? But the ones that I think I heard or I thought, and I'm going to assume that I heard. The goal, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve is the first thing you should be asking yourself.
Absolutely. Where
are you trying to achieve it? What industry or industries attract you? Where do you want to be working? And geographically, because if you're working in the US, or if you're working in the UK for a US headquartered company, PMP is going to be a hugely valuable qualification. Yet if you're working for a British company, then PMP isn't going to be so useful to you, but association with project managers, management's qualifications are. What sector are you like to be working in? Again, in a lot of parts of the world, PRINCE2 is very valuable if you're working in the public sector. But if you're working in an American commercial organization, PRINCE2, it's nowhere. So
you're going to be like, Prince what? Queen what?
Exactly.
They're not going to have any idea.
A few years ago, the methodology formerly known as Prince. But there's also the time you want to invest, because some qualifications are quite quick. Some of the agile qualifications you can do your preparation in a day, I would think. And
if you've been doing it on the job, absolutely.
And there's a cost thing as well, because not all qualifications have the same cost attached to them. And if you weigh up, did I miss any? I think those are the key things.
I think you nailed it. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, you've decided that from what Dawn and I have said is that you do value the idea of having a certification. Those are the questions you should be asking yourself. You should be talking to mentors about. How else can you go about making that decision? I would think mentors is a good way. Any other thoughts, Dawn?
Yeah, I think you observe and you look around and you say, even on LinkedIn, right? You can kind of look at where do I want to go next? Who has the job I want next? What qualifications do they have? And then, if you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love your advice. I mean, anytime anybody says, Dawn, I'd love your career advice on this. How are you going to say no to that? I mean, come on. So you can easily, don't be scared to reach out to somebody and say, listen, I think your background's amazing. I'm thinking about my career as well. I'd love your advice. Do you think that X certification would be valuable for me? And they might jump on a call with you and learn more about where you want to go, where you've been, and so forth. But I agree. Mentors are certainly wonderful, but that could be just one, it doesn't have to be a long-term relationship mentor, it might just be someone that you find that you think, I think that their advice would be really helpful.
And what you said there is, it very much tallies with my experience, is that people can think, particularly if you're young, at the start of your career, that going to someone with experience and asking them for some advice is intimidating. But the fact is that it never gets old. I think you'd have to be really inundated before you stop being flattered by people asking for your advice, if it's done in a courteous way. If it's not, and I'm like you, I get questions from my YouTube subscribers, from my community at online PM courses all the time, and I'm only too pleased to answer them. And one question I do want to ask you is, as you say, we're talking now, it's early 2021. The PMP course has changed substantially in the last few days. It's been in the air since June 2019, I think, was when they published the new syllabus. But now it's happened and it's real. And also we know, I don't know if you know more than I do, but we know that the 7th edition of the PMBOK guide is coming. And although PMI has always said the PMBOK guide is not the syllabus for a PMP, without a doubt there's an influence. So could you just tell us from your perspective what we need to know? Firstly, a few thoughts perhaps about the new exam, but perhaps more important, what the arrival of the PMBOK 7 will mean, and what privileged knowledge do you have?
Yeah, here's that. I'm going to tell you some secrets. No, they're not really secrets, but this is the biggest change that we've ever seen. Okay. And so it's huge. And I really feel for everybody that had been studying under the previous exam structure. And now, and for whatever reason, they didn't, COVID happened, life happened, something happened, and they weren't able to get it done by the 31st of December. And now they're faced with, oh no, what am I going to do about this? Or, people just starting the journey and saying, well, what is this big change? So I just want to focus on 3 quick things that are really, really big, okay, in the interest of time. So one is there are more question types now. So previously in the PMP, forever, the exam was 200 questions, 175 of them actually counted toward your score, 25 of them were testing questions. So they were just, testing if they were valid questions statistically for the next exam. So 175 count, all multiple choice, all only 4 answers to choose from. So the answer's got to be there, and you only choose one. Not so in the future edition. Now there are many more question types. So that's new and different. And I personally am a very nervous test taker. I mean, you can put me, I have spoken in a stadium, okay, and I do fine. But you put me in front of an exam of any type and I start sweating bullets. So if anybody out there is a nervous test taker, you're going to want to prepare yourself with these new question types. We have always recommended that people prepare by drilling question after question after question to understand what the right answer is according to PMI. But this is going to be even more important than ever now, because the question type differences are really going to be tricky for a lot of people.
You need to understand how the type works. Because I think there is a worry that if you go into it cold, you'll know the right answer and still not quite know how to express that answer with some of these questions.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. So no doubt. And so that's number 1, new question types. Number 2 is, listen, the good news is this. If you studied anything before, all is not lost.
Yeah.
Because about 50% of what you studied before is still going to count.
Yeah.
Now, what's new is, what's especially new is they're adding agile and hybrid approaches that will be tested. So, if you have been wondering about agile, or you are an agilist already, or you think, hey, this would be great because of new tools in my toolkit, and as project managers, always learning, like you said, then that's a good thing. So we're going to put our, silver lining hats on and say, this is a good thing that they're going to, require us to learn agile and hybrid approaches. So that's the second thing. That's a requirement now. And the 7th edition part is the third thing. Here's also the good news. If you're getting into this now, or, you're having a hangover from last year and you didn't make it and you have to, study under the new, they call it the exam content outline.
Yep.
So for more details, go look for the exam content outline, or ECO, for the new
link
test.
below this video for people who need to get that.
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you. But you won't have to worry about the 7th edition yet.
Yeah.
So right before this, Mike and I checked Amazon, and it's still listed at March 31st, becoming available in the English version. We're understanding that it will become available in all the other normal, PMI languages. I think it's like up to 11 languages now. But for sure, I can see we saw the English one available on March 31st. So that means they can't possibly test you on the 7th edition yet.
Absolutely.
So, and usually what happens, so as far as secret knowledge goes, I mean, if history is any indicator, and it may not be, but if history is any indicator, the new edition comes out, and then several months later, maybe 3 to 6 months later, that's when they start to insert the new questions from the new edition into the exam mix. Yes. So if you studied in 2020, you better get on this now, because it'll be even more tricky once they start to insert the 7th edition stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the 7th edition that I must say is all indicators is that it's completely different.
Yeah.
So like from the 2nd edition that, I studied under through the 6th edition, there weren't, it just got bigger and bigger, and they just incorporate more of it. And, the process groups and the knowledge areas, and the processes, that structure was all the same. This is completely different. It's actually blowing my mind a little bit, because, I'm into gamification, and we created a game under the 4th edition, the 5th edition, the 6th edition. And I was like, okay, what are they going to do to me now in the 7th edition that I have to like modify this game to make it easy for people to learn, 750 pages in an hour. And it turns out that the 7th edition is smaller, and they've taken out the word process. Yeah. So what's interesting about this is all indicators so far are that the 6th edition will continue to be alive and well as a reference guide, because there's that like long list of references because of the process.
Yeah. Because
they've removed the word process. I mean, so far it's still not out yet, but so far they've removed the word process from the 7th edition. But come on, we're project managers. We think in process. You do this, then you do this, then you do this. That's a process, right? And so we have to know that, and that's how we think. So I can't imagine that if they've removed process from the 7th edition, that they wouldn't continue to look to the 6th edition for that, which we all still need.
I think they're in the process of putting all the knowledge areas and all the process groups online as an online resource, which I think is going to be part of the requirements for study alongside the 10 current books that they recommend. But the thing I finds interesting is historically the changes to the exam content outline have been 2 years out of sync with on a roundabout 4-year basis with the new project management body of knowledge. Now, because of the delays to the start, it's probably going to be more like 1. And it will be interesting to see whether they do try and bring them into alignment more or less quickly. But I agree. I think all those processes, all the knowledge areas are still going to be part of the body of knowledge that you have to know. They just won't be part of the PMBOK guide. They will be online and ready. I think I'd agree with you. We don't know for sure how they're going to handle PMBOK 7 in the exam. So, the pressure is still on. If you think it's the right time for you, then sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Buckle down and get on it.
Yeah. I think we probably need to wrap up soon. I think before I ask you to tell us how we can get in touch with you, though, it does strike me, if someone wanted to dip their toe into, the PMI methodology and wanted a quick introduction and did want to cut 750 pages down to an experience that they can savor and come away feeling that they actually really understand it rather than having read it, how could they go about doing that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly why we created the game. And we now have a registered trademark for the game, which is so exciting in an entrepreneur's life. Thank you. It's called Project Flow, FLO, Project Flow. And what we have is we have a couple different things. So for the self-study person, we have an app, so it's available on tablet and iPad only right now. But if you go to pmotraining.com, you can click on the app, and so get your device, tablet or iPad, only at the moment. And because it's a great learning experience that way. Mm-hmm. And find the app and just download it directly. And there's a 7-day free trial, so you can. So you check it out, and you can dip your toe in the PMI ocean that way by checking out the app. And in the app is the visual process map and stories. So, storytelling is an ancient way that we learn. Yeah. So it unlocks that ancient part of our brain. And what I found was, when you want to be a PM geek like us, right, you do study the true definitions from PMI and others. But what I found is anybody that's sort of interested in it in the beginning, or, they're not sure if they want to go for a cert, they think it might be, they think they should learn more about it. I wanted to create a more accessible way for people to understand what PMI is doing. And so I tell stories.
Yeah.
I tell stories about it. I created these stories that people love. It's easy. From people from the university level. So I've had university students take it, and up to, senior PMs, right? That wanted to learn the 6th edition, that were like me and had studied some previous edition, have taken it up. And if you're like, oh, this app is, kind of interesting, I'd like to know more, we have a micro certification course that people can go through. So from that, like, cost level, the cost of a micro certification from a time and a monetary investment is very low. So you start to see, like, okay, so what people say when they come to the class is, they might say, I'm not really sure if I want to get my PMP or my CAPM, but I'd like to, dip my leg in the water and kind of see. And then they understand by the end of it, what is PMI doing? And they decide, oh yeah, I'm ready. I've made the time. I'm proud of my commitment I've made to myself in studying over the past 4 weeks, and I'm ready to go forward. Or they say, nah, my life is not conducive to studying, and and they discover that through the actual process of doing it. And then at the end, they get a micro certification for their LinkedIn profile and resume that says, hey, I'm up to date. I understand the 6th edition, and like I said, the 6th edition, I think, is going to continue to be alive and well for a long time, because it does have, that process. So we'll see what happens there. But that's a way for people to, dip their toe in, or dip their, whole leg in if they end up going into the micro certification, and then decide from there. So it's nice not to have to jump the whole way into the cold water and go for the more expensive, journey. Because if you do want to go for your CAPM or your PMP, it is a journey, and you have to really commit.
And I have to say, having had a preview of some of the training materials that PMI is providing its authorized training providers now, they strike me as quite dry. And if your experience level is relatively low, you make the grade, but only just. I think doing a course like yours, which is focused on understanding the project management rather than passing the exam, is going to make everything a lot easier for you. I'm not a big fan of a ton of PowerPoint with bullet points, and I think that's probably the weakest element of the new PMP structure. I think the new content, that it makes it a better qualification. The higher level of information that you're required to understand and be able to talk knowledgeably about, in terms of the soft side of project management and the business side of it and the stakeholder engagement aspects, they're all to the good. I just feel that PMI, in changing its regime around registered education providers and stuff, which I can understand, but I think it may have made a little bit of a misstep from my point of view.
We'll see what happens there. I mean, the training world has certainly blown up over the past year, in trying to figure out, what are we going to do, stay or go, do the, commit. And luckily, we have the ability to teach the new PMBOK, the new PMP boot camps and so forth, because we do have that ATP going for us. But it's been very difficult for all training companies. So there's been a real shakeup. So if people are looking for trainings and so forth, don't be surprised if you start to discover and uncover that shakeup that's happened.
Yeah, and I think, as a word of warning to viewers, if you are looking for someone teaching the authorized PMI content, then be careful, because there are probably not an insignificant numbers of people who will, in one way or another, purport to be authorized training providers, still showing the old rep badge when they haven't earned the new ATP badge like your organization has. So buyer beware, I think. But
right.
I think we do need to wrap up. But Dawn, thank you very much. Please, could you tell us before you go how viewers can get in touch with you, engage with you on social media, and access either your bootcamp training or this app? Where should they go looking? And I'll put it in the description.
Thank you. And I just want to say it's been a wonderful time here with you, having a conversation. I love your style and your humor. And so thank you so much for inviting me to be on your YouTube channel. And if people, yeah, it was anytime, my friend. So how people can get in touch with me, I love LinkedIn requests. So if you say, send me a LinkedIn request, don't just send it, randomly. Say, hey, I saw you on Mike's show, and then I'll know that you're for real and a good person. So send me a LinkedIn request directly. That's great. You can go to pmotraining.com. That's our main site. We just are rolling out Project Guru Academy. Project Guru Academy is where we're shifting all of our non-PMO training and talent development work. So I would really appreciate if you would go to Project Guru Academy on LinkedIn. So just type into the search bar Project Guru Academy and follow us, because that's where we announce free trainings. We announce, webinars like, what certification is right for me, all that kind of stuff. And so you can get, access to what's happening and what the latest and greatest is if you follow us there at Project Guru Academy, but definitely link in with me. I'm also on Instagram at Dawn J Mahan there, where, try to do a little fun. I can get to know people. So those are probably the best 3 places. Yeah.
Great. Dawn, thank you very much. You've given us a mountain of good advice and interesting knowledge, and you've done it with good humor and really clearly. And you are my first guest on this. Thank you very much for taking the time. And I look forward to speaking with you again on another one of these when it comes around. I think it would be great to take you up on your offer to appear again. Thank you very much.
I'd love to. Thank you, Mike. And bye, everybody. Good luck with your decisions and your careers. Keep in touch with us.
Goodbye. Thank you all. Please do give us a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll be creating loads more great project management content. So please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.